Have you ever wondered why, as an INFJ, you sometimes find yourself doing things that others can't quite understand, things that may seem strange, unusual, or even a little unsettling to those around you, yet to you, they feel completely natural and effortless, as if they are woven into the very fabric of your being? Today, we're diving deep into the 10 weirdest things INFJs do without even realizing it, not to make you feel odd or out of place, but to show you that the quirks you've often questioned are actually signs of the rare and deeply complex wiring that makes you who you are. And let me tell you this, if you've ever felt too different, if you've ever wondered why you can't just be like everyone else, if you've ever been accused of being mysterious, hard to read, or even a little eccentric, then you're going to find yourself in these 10 points, because each one reveals not just an INFJ habit, but a hidden truth about the way your mind, your heart, and your soul operate in this world. 1. The habit of vanishing into their own world. INFJs are known for disappearing, and I don't just mean ghosting people or stepping back from relationships. I mean vanishing into the invisible inner world they carry within them, a place so rich, so layered, and so alive that sometimes it becomes more real than the physical world around them. Without even realizing it, INFJs slip into this inner sanctuary where their thoughts weave endless patterns, where they imagine futures that don't exist yet, where they replay past conversations, dissect hidden meanings, and explore the infinite depths of what could have been or what might someday come to be. To outsiders, this can look like daydreaming, zoning out, or even being inattentive, but what's actually happening is that the INFJ is engaging with an entire inner universe that others can't see. They may not even realize how often they disappear into this world, because it feels as natural as breathing, but to those around them, it can seem bizarre. Like one minute you're here, and the next, you've drifted into some parallel dimension no one else has access to. And here's the emotional truth. This retreat isn't about escape or avoidance, it's about survival. For the INFJ, the inner world isn't just a refuge, it's where they process pain, build understanding, and create meaning out of the chaos of existence. It's where they stitch together insights about people, about humanity, about life itself. It may look weird, but it's actually one of the INFJ's greatest powers, the ability to live in two worlds at once, navigating both the external reality everyone else sees and the internal reality only they can access. 2. Picking up on energies without realizing it. Another weird thing INFJs do, often without knowing, is absorbing the energies of everyone around them, like emotional sponges who can't help but soak up moods, unspoken thoughts, and hidden intentions. An INFJ can walk into a room and within moments feel the unspoken tension between two people, the heaviness of someone's sadness, or the subtle joy radiating off another, all without a single word being exchanged. What makes this strange is that most people don't operate this way. They rely on spoken words, on surface-level cues, on obvious expressions. But INFJs? They're wired differently. They're tuning into frequencies most people don't even know exist. And what's weirder is that INFJs often don't realize how rare this ability is. They assume everyone feels what they feel, that everyone notices the same subtle shifts in body language, tone, or atmosphere. This weirdness can make others uncomfortable, because it often feels like the INFJ is reading their mind or seeing through masks that were meant to stay in place. And sometimes, it even makes INFJs uncomfortable with themselves, because they can't explain why they just know something, why they feel a certain heaviness or certainty about someone they've barely met. But here's the truth. This strangeness is a gift, a form of intuition so sharp and penetrating that it borders on psychic. It's weird, yes, but it's also the reason INFJs are called the seers, the counselors, and the visionaries. 3. Talking to themselves like they're someone else. Here's one that might make INFJs chuckle. The way they often talk to themselves, not just casually, but as if they're having a full conversation with another person. Sometimes it's out loud, Sometimes it's in their head, but either way, it's a dialogue. A back and forth where they take on different perspectives, explore possibilities, and even rehearse conversations that may or may not ever happen. To outsiders, this can look weird or even unsettling. Imagine walking past an INFJ's room and hearing them debate with themselves, shift tones mid-sentence, or repeat entire dialogues as if they're actors in their own private play. But for the INFJ, this is second nature. It's how they process complexity, how they prepare for the unpredictability of life, how they explore different outcomes before making a choice. And here's what most people don't know. This inner dialogue isn't just random, it's deeply tied to the INFJ's sense of empathy. By playing out different roles, they're stepping into the shoes of others, testing out how a conversation might feel, predicting emotional responses, and fine-tuning their approach so they can connect in a way that feels authentic. Yes, it's weird to carry on these invisible conversations, but it's also part of what makes the INFJ's connections so deep and their insights so accurate. 4. Overanalyzing tiny details no one else notices. INFJs have a strange, almost obsessive relationship with details that other people overlook. It might be the tone of someone's voice, the pause before they answered, the way they avoided eye contact, or the subtle shift in posture that revealed more than their words ever could. Without even realizing it, the INFJ stores these micro-details, weaving them together into a bigger picture that most people would never even think to look for. What makes this weird is that INFJs often don't consciously choose to do this. Their brains are simply wired to notice, to analyze, to connect dots that others don't even see as dots. And this can lead to moments where the INFJ blurts out something strangely accurate, something about a person's feelings, intentions, or struggles that they never said out loud. And the reaction? Shock. Sometimes discomfort. Sometimes awe. But for the INFJ, it's not a performance, it's not manipulation, it's just how their mind works. They notice what's hidden in plain sight, and they can't turn it off. This makes them excellent at seeing through lies, predicting behavior, or offering advice that cuts straight to the heart of an issue. Weird? Absolutely. But also undeniably powerful. Point 5. Feeling the weight of the world without realizing it. One of the strangest things INFJs do is carry the emotional weight of the world without even noticing how heavy it has become. They absorb not only the struggles of friends and family, but also the pain of strangers, of society, of humanity itself. They read an article about suffering on the other side of the globe and feel it as if it were their own. They hear a passing comment from a stranger and carry it in their heart for days. What's weird is how natural this feels to the INFJ. They don't see it as unusual to carry so much empathy, to feel so deeply, to take on so much emotional responsibility. But to outsiders, it looks extreme, like they're drowning in emotions that aren't even theirs. This weirdness is both a blessing and a burden. It gives INFJs a profound ability to understand, to heal, to connect. But it also leaves them exhausted, overwhelmed, and sometimes lost in feelings they can't even trace back to themselves. And here's the part they don't always realize. Not everyone feels this way. Not everyone takes the world's pain into their body like it's their own. That's why INFJs are often seen as strange, intense, or overly sensitive, because the depth of their empathy is so far beyond the norm. 6. Switching between extreme warmth and sudden coldness without warning. There's something undeniably strange about the way INFJs can shift from being the warmest, most affectionate, most attentive person in the room to suddenly becoming distant, detached, and almost icy. And often, they don't even realize how noticeable this shift is to others, because to them, it feels like a natural response to the subtle changes they're sensing beneath the surface. Picture this. One moment the INFJ is laughing with you, leaning in, making you feel seen like no one else can, and then almost instantly, without any obvious trigger, they pull back, their smile fades, and their energy becomes unreadable, leaving you wondering if you said something wrong, if they've lost interest, or if they've silently judged you. The truth is, in many cases, nothing external happened. It's just that the INFJ's intuitive radar picked up on something small, something off, something inauthentic, or simply the draining of their own internal battery, and in that moment, their whole system shifts into self-protection. What makes this weird is not just the suddenness of it, but the way INFJs can do it almost without awareness. They don't always realize how jarring it feels to others when they withdraw mid-conversation, when their eyes glaze over, when their voice becomes cooler, or when they seem to emotionally check out. To the INFJ, this shift is necessary. It's like closing a window when the air outside becomes too harsh, but to others, it feels confusing, sometimes even hurtful, as if the INFJ is rejecting them. And here's the deeper truth. This strange pattern reflects the INFJ's constant balancing act between their empathy and their boundaries. They crave connection but also need protection. They want to give but also must preserve themselves. They yearn to understand others but also recognize when the emotional cost becomes too high. This weird oscillation between warmth and coldness isn't a flaw. It's a survival mechanism, and even though INFJs may not always realize how much it stands out, it's part of what makes their presence so unforgettable, so magnetic, and so baffling to those who encounter them. 7. Creating entire alternate realities in their minds. Another deeply strange habit INFJs carry, often without realizing how unusual it is their tendency to construct elaborate inner realities, alternate versions of life where conversations go differently, relationships unfold in new directions, or entire worlds exist with their own rules, their own logic, and their own beauty. This isn't just daydreaming, it's world building. It's narrative weaving. It's an act of imagination so vivid and so consuming that sometimes the INFJ has to remind themselves what's real and what's just inside their mind. To an outsider, this can look like distraction or fantasy, but to the INFJ, these inner scenarios serve a purpose. They are rehearsal spaces for real life, healing spaces for unresolved wounds, and creative spaces where the soul finds freedom from the limitations of reality. An INFJ may spend hours replaying a single conversation in their mind, adjusting the words, imagining different outcomes, or exploring how it could have gone if honesty had been easier, if courage had been stronger, or if fate had unfolded differently. And what's weirder still is that INFJs often don't realize how immersive these inner worlds are until someone points out how absent they seemed, how disconnected they appeared, how lost in thought they were. For the INFJ, slipping into these alternate realities feels as natural as breathing, a subconscious retreat, a form of storytelling that is both protective and creative, both healing and haunting. The psychological truth behind this weirdness is powerful. INFJs live at the intersection of reality and possibility, and because of that, they can see life not only as it is but as it could be. They imagine futures others cannot fathom. They rewrite pasts that still ache inside them, and they dream of worlds where the weight of human suffering is lifted. Yes, it's weird, but it's also one of the reasons INFJs are visionaries, artists, writers, and healers. They live in a constant dialogue between what exists and what could exist. 8. Attracting confessions from strangers without even trying. This one often baffles INFJs most of all. The way complete strangers feel compelled to open up to them, to share their deepest secrets, their hidden pain, their untold stories, sometimes within minutes of meeting them, as if the INFJ carries an invisible sign that says, "It's safe to tell me who you really are." And what's so strange is that INFJs don't ask for this. They don't walk around trying to pry into people's lives. It just happens, again and again, without them even realizing how unusual it is. Imagine sitting on a bus and suddenly the person next to you is telling you about the divorce they're going through, or standing in line at a cafe and the barista starts confessing how lost they feel, or meeting someone at a party and within minutes they're talking about their childhood trauma. This happens to INFJs so often that they sometimes stop questioning it. They just assume this is normal, when in reality, most people don't experience strangers unburdening themselves like this. Why does it happen? Because INFJs radiate a rare combination of empathy, non-judgment, and intuitive safety. Their presence feels like a sanctuary where masks can be removed, where vulnerability isn't punished but welcomed. And because the INFJ listens with more than just their ears, they listen with their heart, with their intuition, with their entire being. People feel seen in a way they rarely experience. What's weird, though, is how unconscious this is for the INFJ. They don't realize the subtle way their body language invites trust, the gentle way their silence creates space, or the invisible magnetism of their aura that draws out truths people didn't even mean to share. And while this can feel overwhelming, even draining at times, it's also one of the INFJ's greatest gifts. The ability to make others feel safe enough to reveal their hidden selves. Weird, yes. But also profoundly healing. 9. Disappearing from people they love without explaining why. Perhaps one of the strangest and most misunderstood behaviors INFJs engage in, often without realizing how unsettling it can be for others, is their sudden tendency to vanish from the lives of even those they deeply love, retreating into silence, distance, or absence without offering clear explanations, as if they've pulled an invisible curtain between themselves and the world. To those on the outside, this behavior can feel cold, confusing, even cruel, because it often happens not after an argument or obvious conflict, but in moments where everything seemed fine, where laughter had been shared and love had been expressed, and then suddenly, the INFJ is gone. Not physically perhaps, but emotionally, mentally, and energetically, leaving behind a hollow space where their presence once was. For the INFJ, this vanishing isn't a calculated rejection. It's a subconscious survival response, a deeply wired instinct to withdraw when their inner world feels too crowded, when the weight of other people's emotions becomes unbearable, when their soul cries out for solitude and space to breathe. They don't always realize how their silence impacts others, how their absence creates fear and confusion, because in their inner logic, stepping back is an act of self-preservation, not abandonment. And here's the paradox. INFJs can love someone fiercely, can care with every fiber of their being, and still disappear on them, not because they've stopped caring, but because they need to recharge, to realign, to rediscover themselves outside of the noise of constant connection. This weird vanishing act is one of the most painful and most beautiful aspects of being an INFJ. Painful, because it creates misunderstandings and broken bonds. Beautiful, because it shows the INFJ's courage to choose authenticity over performance, even if it means being misunderstood. 10. Seeing patterns in everything, even where others see nothing. The final strange behavior INFJs embody, often without realizing it, is their relentless habit of seeing patterns, connections, and hidden meanings everywhere, even in places where others see only randomness or coincidence. To the INFJ, the world is a web, and every event, every word, every action, every silence is a thread woven into a larger tapestry, a design that most people overlook but that the INFJ cannot stop noticing. This manifests in countless ways. Reading symbolism into dreams, connecting a stranger's comment to a past event, linking a personal experience to a larger cultural shift, or sensing a repeating theme in their own lives that feels like a lesson from the universe. While others shrug things off as just the way it is, INFJs dig deeper, convinced that there's meaning in everything, that nothing is wasted, that even the smallest detail fits into a story that is still unfolding. What makes this weird is the intensity of it. To outsiders, it can look obsessive, paranoid, or mystical, as if the INFJ is overthinking or creating connections that don't exist. But for the INFJ, This way of seeing the world is not optional, it's hardwired. Their intuition compels them to search for meaning, their empathy drives them to interpret context, and their depth of thought transforms randomness into story. And here's the deeper truth. This weird, pattern-seeking ability is what makes INFJs the visionaries they are. They see what others miss, they connect dots others dismiss, they notice cycles others repeat blindly. It's strange, yes, but it's also why INFJs often feel like old souls, prophets, or guides in the lives of those around them. Their weirdness is their wisdom, and their wisdom is their gift to the world. So there you have it. 10 of the weirdest things INFJs do without even realizing it. From vanishing into their inner worlds to absorbing energies, from talking to themselves to noticing hidden details, from switching warmth to coldness to constructing alternate realities, from attracting confessions to disappearing in silence, from carrying the world's pain to seeing endless patterns. Each one of these behaviors may look strange, eccentric, or confusing to outsiders, but together, they paint a picture of what it truly means to be an INFJ. And here's what I want you to hear, especially if you've spent your whole life feeling like you're too much, too weird, too misunderstood. These quirks are not flaws. They are the fingerprints of a rare and extraordinary personality, one that experiences the world with more depth, more intensity, and more interconnectedness than most people can ever imagine. Yes, INFJs are weird, but their weirdness is their superpower. It's what allows them to love deeply, to see clearly, to guide gently, to heal quietly, and to imagine boldly. The very things that make them feel out of place are the very things that make them irreplaceable. So the next time someone points out your strangeness, the next time you catch yourself slipping into one of these odd behaviors, I hope you remember this truth. Your weirdness is not something to hide, it's something to honor, something to embrace, something that connects you to the rare, mysterious, and beautiful identity of being an INFJ. Because in a world desperate for authenticity, empathy, and vision, it's the INFJ's weirdness that might just save us all. If this video spoke to you, if you recognized yourself in these words, then know this: you are not alone, and you are not broken. You are an INFJ, and your weirdness is your gift. If you enjoyed this, hit like, subscribe for more INFJ content, and share this with another INFJ who needs to be reminded of how beautifully rare they truly are. And in the comments below, tell us, which of these weird INFJ habits do you recognize most in yourself? Remember, stay true, stay rare, and never stop honoring the weirdness that makes you who you are.